Definitely. Wow, beautiful. Hi, Kavita.
Hello.
Beautiful. All right. So, ladies, today we're talking about meal prep success and um, obviously this is not new information for those of you that are on the call right now, but it's useful to look back at it and check where we can improve, or also with you guys who've been coming and training a little longer, it's the sharing your own strategies and the things that work for you that are helpful for other people. So obviously, I know that you know, but our basics are always the foundation. So the plate and what a portion size looks like, a palm-sized portion of protein, a thumb-sized portion of fat, a cupped handful of carbohydrates, and lots of vegetables filling the rest of the plate. So this is just a review, and I had mentioned this on a call probably 6 months ago now. Food is fuel and one of life's greatest pleasures. Playful exploration while nutritiously fueling yourself is a rebellious act of self-care. What I've noticed coming up a lot for people recently is there's still a lot of shame and punishment when it's like, I went off my plan, and then there's all this shame for having eaten something that wasn't perceived as perfect or ideal. So great, Reem's just jumping in, fabulous. And we've got to remember that, like, we were designed as humans, like, food is our fuel, it's nutrition, it's like, it is what gives us energy and life, and we need to be able to enjoy it and not have shame around making choices. So I know, Joe, you've been like really cutting back sugar and things, and then I found caramel milk buttons at the supermarket the other day. I know
Stop
that's
it.
a I know. I was like, oh my God, milk buttons. So then I don't have to have a whole block of it. I can have some milk buttons, and they're so amazing. And there doesn't have to be shame around that if we plan things effectively. So remembering that highly palatable foods, so things like chocolate, they're things we don't find in nature, and it is very hard for us to stop eating them. So they're usually combinations of carbohydrates and fats. So if you think about it, like bread with butter, chocolate has like sugar and fat in it. And those combinations are not found in nature, and they're like so highly palatable. Like our body just like can't stop. And that's why we want to encourage minimizing those types of processed foods. Like food scientists, literally their job is to how to make food like harder for us to stop eating. So being conscious of that when we're like doing our grocery shopping and our meal planning, like, can we minimize those things that are designed to make it difficult for us to stop eating them? So planning ahead of going to the supermarket. So with meal prepping, the important thing here is that if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. So we always want to plan what are our protein, vegetable, carb and fat sources, what are the snacks you're going to have, and then create a menu or meal list. There are some people who will love to build a spreadsheet. I know Reem's just jumped in. She loves lists. And planning ahead. I know there's some other spreadsheet and list lovers in this call, and that can be helpful. So you've all seen this before, and I actually have another meal planning sheet I can show you all later as well. But essentially, this is a very simple way of planning ahead. And for those of you with families, this is really important because it's not just about your meals, it's about the meals for everybody in the family as well. And so having that plan ahead of time, being able to do your shopping list and making sure that you're setting yourself up for success is really important.
JC,
Yeah.
I'm like glitching from the resistance.
Yeah, that's
That
okay.
spreadsheet to the
Yeah. So I will show you how it can be done more complex version, and then I'll show you how I do it in my simplest way possible. And there's like ways to break it down in the easiest way possible.
Yeah.
So some people love, I love you that you spoke into that, Joe, because some of us, some people love spreadsheets and lists and having everything planned perfectly ahead. That is not how my brain works. But I still plan ahead and I have an idea of what I want when I'm doing my grocery shopping. And if I imagine that if I had a family, I would have a little bit more structure in how I did that so that I could make sure that, like, you know, everyone was being fed with a similar structure. So here I've just done a really simple example. For me, like making it as simple as possible. So I've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When I do my meals, I literally plan these proteins, vegetables, and things. So it's a mix and match situation. But I know some people like to know that every meal has a different protein and that they're getting, like, they like to have different things every meal. So you can do this. And what you can also do is then like go, okay, for like lunch this day, I can make sure that that same lunch is similar, is like a dinner on another day. Or what I cook for dinner on Monday is also like I take the leftovers for lunch the following day. You can do a lot of things like that to make things easier for yourself. But the priority here is that every meal we have protein, we have vegetables, and we're looking at what our carb source is and what fats we have. We're also looking at making sure that we have snacks that have protein. And like you can see here, I've written like small Lindt bar. Like you literally plan in the fact that you want to have a piece of chocolate, or Reem is drinking her tea with sugar. And it's planned knowing that, okay, I get to have my tea with sugar, but I have it in the morning and I'm only having one rather than three with a lot of teaspoons of sugar in it. But like you said, Joe, if we make it too complex, it can be overwhelming for a lot of people. So I can't remember where I first heard this acronym, keep it simple, stupid. I feel like it was sometime in my cabin crew training many years ago. But in the simplest way possible, choose 3 to 4 protein sources throughout your week. So you want to make sure that you're cycling through and you're having different sources of protein. Make sure you have a variety of vegetables. Frozen or pre-made salads are fast and easy. So I literally have bags of frozen vegetables and I pick up pre-made salads when I don't want to go through the process of making them myself. For fats, have things like nuts and seeds mixes. I buy like raw nuts and seeds and I'll oven roast them and put them into a mix, and I'll put that over a salad or over my meals. So I'm getting a variety of nice fats. Having avocados, cottage cheese, olive oil. So you just have those options there in the house. And then, of course, choose things that you can prepare in advance. So things like hard-boiled eggs, I do every week. I always have hard-boiled eggs pre-done in the fridge. Overnight chia pudding is a popular one with a lot of the girls. There's lots of things you can plan in advance so that they're there ready to go and as a snack when you want them. So, Joe, for me, this is what an example of my grocery list looks like. I don't plan ahead the menu. I just go, okay, I'm going to have a variety of protein. So pretty much I go and pick up enough for me to get through 4 or 5 days. Grass-fed steak, smoked salmon, chicken liver, chicken thighs, eggs, cottage cheese. I have a variety of vegetables. So I have, I love the spinny superfood salad pre-made in a salad bar. I have frozen vegetables, and then I'll pick up just a mixture of like whatever is like local veg and organic produce, either from Green Heart or from the supermarket, wherever I happen to be, so that I can just eat those things on the go or throw them into a salad on a plate, or roast them up. And then I always have some of these fat variations in the house. And then for my carbs, like I sometimes have some rice, but I like to prioritize having some really nice like sourdough bread, and then I eat lots of fruit as my carb sources as well. Sometimes I'll add like starchy potatoes and things like that. But essentially the way my own grocery list looks is I'll just make sure that I have the protein and the vegetables, and then it's a mix and match situation. As long as my plate is a balance, then we're good to go.
What I used to do is also get like the pre-cooked rice.
Not
a huge rice eater, but if I like sort of wanted to have rice with something, I'd just get a pre-cooked one, and it was just so much easier than like cooking a pot of rice. But that's for somebody who doesn't eat a lot of rice. So.
Yeah, no, 100%. For someone like, obviously if you are coming from sort of an Asian culture, or even more Middle East, where it's like a rice heavy culture, they'll probably be like, what? But it's also a good way to make sure that your portions aren't huge, because they're smaller portions in the pre-cooked. If you're in a hurry and it's just for one person, they're perfect. And so what we do once we're in the supermarket, because again, we go into the supermarket and we've got all these good ideas, and then we get distracted by the things in the middle that we shouldn't be having. And so always stick to the outside of the supermarket. So if you notice when you go into the supermarket, all around the outside is where your like fresh fruit and vegetables are, the meats, all of the like perishable stuff. And that is where you want to spend the bulk of your time in the supermarket. We want to avoid as much as possible the aisles with all the packaged processed foods, only going in there with intention, like knowing what you want to get ahead of time, and definitely try to avoid going shopping when you're hungry, because that is when the little voice in your head starts to have all of the, I want this and I want that, and you always are going to make like not ideal decisions, because you're letting that little voice lead you, rather than that aware, grounded human who's well fed. And then, like I said, those super fast, easy meal options are those pre-made salads and protein. Literally the easiest. Like I went into Spinneys 2 days ago and I bought a barbecue chicken, 2 large containers of 2 of their salads, and they've got small loaves of sourdough bread, and like that's like 3 days of food. And I just have some eggs as well, so I've got some boiled eggs, and I like just strip the chicken, I throw that onto a plate, I have 2 different types of salad, and I'm good to go. Meal prepping doesn't have to be hard. There's so many options. Often forgotten things are the like logistics of like, how am I going to make sure that I get this food with me when I need it? Have you got enough containers to put all your meal prep into? So this was a challenge that I've seen a lot of times, is people go and they do this big grocery shop and they plan ahead, and then they go and they start to meal prep and they realize like they don't have the containers to put it into to portion it out for the week. So, popping to IKEA and getting a bunch of stackable containers, cheap, and you'll use them over and over and over again. Do you have a cooler bag and an ice pack so that you can take those containers with you and keep them with you? Because again, people will go like they've done the meal prep, but then whoops, I forgot to take it with me, or I like put it in like some fridge at the office and then I didn't leave my desk for the day, so I didn't end up actually eating it. So, when I was in my corporate days, I literally would have that, like my food was with me all the time. So there was no chance that I was going to be going without my meals. And then do you have a plan for social outings and like work meetings and those things? Often we have all these best laid plans and then we're like, whoops, I went out for a meal and then everything went to shit. But this is where we get to have these moments where we think, okay, if I'm going to go be at this restaurant or at this event, you get to plan ahead and make effective choices. Maybe you eat ahead of time so you're not really hungry. Maybe you look at the menu ahead of time so that you can decide what things you're going to want to eat. When I am like in long work meetings, I communicate with my team and I'm like, I'm going to be eating through the meeting. And in all my corporate years, I did that as well. Like there will be some times where it's not appropriate, but you still want to plan around. And I would say to my team, like if we were going to meet with external people or something, we would plan ahead so that we could grab something to eat prior to have a quick snack or something so that I wouldn't be starving in the meeting. But communicating those needs, like you're human and you don't need to suffer through long meetings without eating. And often I've experienced that when I started communicating those needs and making it a priority, the rest of the office started to making sure that they brought their lunches and planning ahead around their food, and became something that more and more people started to do. So sometimes you leading that also becomes an example for others. So the questions for you, what do you need to do to upgrade your current meal prep situation? And again, do you have any strategies that worked for you that you'd like to share with the group? Or like Joe said, is there any resistance that you're noticing come up as we talk about this? So we have 10 minutes to share. Who'd like to share?
Hello, hi guys. I'm happy to share a little bit. So RP diet is my bestie and my worst enemy. I am back on another attempt to use it consistently. So I would say that for me, the biggest challenge is trying to plan like a whole week or at least 5 days in advance, because I constantly fall into a cycle of only doing 2 days at a time, which feels like long enough, but it's not. But all the things that come into my day that I didn't know that those things were going to come in. So that would probably be my biggest challenge. Thankfully, I'm not trying to plan Sid and the girls' food, because to be very honest with you, A, they're not interested. And B, I already struggle to do it just for myself. For whatever I'm planning for the house, they get to eat the same thing if they choose, but let's face it, the girls are on their own trip, so they're not. But they're eating healthy food. They're just not at all bothered that every meal has protein or that it has a certain amount of protein. I really try to share that with them, but they're very much like, that's good for you. So long as I know they're eating nutritious food, it's fine. In terms of sharing helpful things, I just wanted to say that a yummy snack that I've discovered in the last few days is making my own fruit yogurt. So I've just been buying tubs of Greek yogurt and chopping fresh fruit into that. And then I was like, why did I ever used to buy pre-prepared fruit yogurt? So that was a really like, it hits the protein, the good fats, all the nutrition, depending what fruit you're choosing to put in it. And you can play and make it as variable as you want. So for me, I've also always struggled with the mid-afternoon snack. I'm fine with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but I'm always like, I don't want to eat tuna at 4:00. I don't want to eat chicken at 4:00. I don't want to I use all of those things as my meals, if that makes sense. I don't want to be eating a meat variety or a fish at my snack time or my breakfast time, to be honest with you. So the Greek yogurt and varying the fruit every day has been really good. So that's all I want to share. As we get deeper into the food planning, then you can start looking at how much protein, how much carbs, and how much. So that's where I'm at in my journey. And yeah, it's a lot to try to hit 120 grams of protein a day. So I'm still working on that, but these have been my latest learnings. Who's next?
So great, Marita. Like you said, like protein doesn't mean just having meat. So there's lots of other options. Like I often, when I'm really trying to hit those protein targets, I'm adding some collagen into my coffee. I am having like, Greek yogurt snacks. I'm having like a pot of cottage cheese with nuts and seeds as a snack as well, boiled eggs. There's lots of ways to get protein that's not, I had a piece of meat or some boiled chicken. Beautiful sharing. And yeah, like you said, there's a range here. So this is really touching on those portion sizes and planning and all of those things. But then when we go deeper, this is the foundational habits you need to have to then be where you are, making sure that we're then weighing, measuring, and trying to hit specific macros so that we can achieve very more specific goals. But you can't do that if you haven't got these foundational habits in place. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm also not a planner. So for husband and kids, I do a weekly Kipson's shop for fruit and veg. Breakfasts, obviously, for them are easy. It's cereal or egg on toast or something like that. And then Hello Chef. So I don't need to think about it at all. And then for me, I just order a week in advance on KCAL my sort of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that seems to be working because I can, the meals on there tend to be high protein. And then I generally add in a couple chocolates here and there and like some fruit here and there.
Yeah.
I could be better at the moment, though. I feel like I do get sort of off track when I come back from holidays. So it's about doing that as soon as I'm back, which I did do last week, and then I forgot to do for this week. But then I've like retroactively gone back and gone, okay, this is what I need to focus on.
Yeah. Beautiful. So like you said, it's this just has to become that routine of like, I planned ahead for the food. I know that it's there, it's being prepared. And, I know that you've been doing the meal, like the meal plans from KCAL for a long time. And for some of us that are super busy, I've had phases in my life where like my days are really long and I've had a lot going on, and just outsourcing the meals to be like delivered with a meal plan is sometimes the best strategy. And it's just being able to realistically look at that and go like, well, for some people, I do think it's important that everyone spends a period of time preparing their food so that they can learn how to do it. But in your situation, like you've already got stuff happening for the whole family, and then being able to outsource your own food is so helpful. Just taking one thing off your plate.
Yeah. Well, I did used to sort of prepare my food, track calories and macros and all of that before, where I was using MyFitnessPal and, doing it. But what I found for me is that it wasn't sustainable, because on those periods of me getting busy, that was the first thing to go, right? So now I just feel like it's less stress, and I'm not on the meal plan anymore. I actually do they have the weekly delivery option where you sort of choose your meals and, it gets delivered. But yeah, it feels good for me to know that that's the option, and I can always change it if I want to, but I don't want to. I don't like cooking.
But it's also like have everything that you just said. It's like you have done it. Like
Yeah.
you have the foundation of the knowledge. You know what a meal needs to look like. You know what a portion size looks like. You know, like, because you've done it all before. And so I really encourage people who've never done it before to spend time doing it. But also recognize, like you have, that there are phases in life where, like, you don't have to do it. You can outsource it if you've got the resources to. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfect. Like, don't do the thing you don't love doing, but make sure that you're getting the nutritious food that you need. So it's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing, Jane.
Quickly, just and reiterate what you said about spending some time at any point in your life of doing it yourself, only because what I learned from the app Jessie suggested called RP Diet, when you select a food, and this is completely different to MyFitnessPal, when you select a food, smoked salmon is a great example, it automatically moves the protein and the fat bar. So there was so many foods that I learned about that it moves the fat bar much more than the protein bar. So even if I eat a serving of smoked salmon, it takes my fat content out so fast, I still need to add something else that hasn't got the good fat, even if it's good fat, to reach protein targets. I hope that makes sense. Chia seeds are another brilliant example. I had a chia pot for breakfast today. Guess how much protein was in that? Zero. So I had to bring a can of tuna to eat with the chia pot, which sounds mad, I know. But my point to you guys is that you learn. It's a beautiful way to learn, so that even if you only did it for a week or two, then you could make all those informed choices for yourself later, because you just get so much knowledge.
Yeah,
sure. I think you could have added a scoop of protein into that chia pot instead of tuna. But
I would have done the same.
I've been having 3 scoops of protein for the last 5 days. I was sick of the protein.
I know what you mean. My stomach doesn't love protein shakes and powders that much.
Love it, but I need variety, Joe. I need variety in all aspects of my life.
Another thing to notice is that the calories go up, right? So if you're choosing a smoked salmon as your protein source, be aware that you may need to bring down other stuff, because it does bring up your calories, right? So the other stuff you'd have to choose is very lean, or to try and balance it.
Exactly. So all of this you get to learn when you start tracking, but endless things to learn. Kavita, Anel, do you have anything to share?
Sorry, ladies, I have to go. I've got another call that's just started. It's just
no worries. Bye, Joe.
Bye.
Reem has just written here, after tracking my food daily after joining, I understand more my nutrition and be able to figure out how to improve more what I require to do for coming time. Previously, I used to schedule my meal for a week and stay away from keep thinking daily what I would have daily for lunch and breakfast. That helped me a lot, where my partner as well as me could cook ahead and prepare for lunch while at work and focus on all my carb and protein that I miss it and we'll be back. Yeah, like you said, Reem, planning ahead, and with you and your partner being able to plan ahead so that you're both on the same page. Like, if he's going to prepare the food for you whilst you're out, then he knows what the plan is, and it's like one less conversation that you have to have, and just like checking in. And yeah, both, and I know that he's got similar like training goals and things, so this allows you to you can work together to achieve the same goals together, and make sure that you're both getting enough protein and that you're both getting plenty of vegetables, and use each other as a support network in that. Very good. Kavita, do you have anything to share?
Not really. I've gotten better with, after I started tracking and things like that. And I've started being smarter with my snacks. So I roasted a whole bunch of different seeds so that I could have it with my fruits as a snacks, which is like, sometimes you get excited about the little things.
Yeah.
And we always do like lots of meat and veg and when we go for groceries every week. So thankfully I have support at home, so I make sure there's always a protein source and some vegetables. And if I want carbs now, I'm getting millets or quinoa made so that I can have a little small portion when I
Yeah.
want to have more carbs. So that way, but I still struggle with, I think, breakfast, because our South Indian, like Asian food, is so carb based, and I'll have my protein with my eggs or whatever, but I'm not having enough vegetables every morning. That's
Mhm.
something I want to work on in the coming weeks.
Yeah. How do you imagine that would look?
Well, we do have like, so I think I can keep some greens and probably tomato, and maybe like keep some chopped up options so that I can have it on the side.
Mhm.
It doesn't come naturally to me to think of adding the veggies in the morning. So usually I'll end up having eggs or something.
Yeah. So it's good to notice that. And it's fine if it's not every day, but it's, it's starting to bring into awareness those choices. Something that we talk about with, which you're going to go deeper into in the mentorship, is when the concept of embodiment. And part of that is embodiment of culture and our belief systems. And what I hear a lot, especially with Indian and Middle Eastern heritage, is they're like, oh, but we don't eat that way. And that's a cultural belief that we've been raised with. And we get to choose whether that serves us still.
Yeah.
So
Our
I
South
see
Indian
this.
diets don't serve us at all. They're all like just only
And
carbs in the morning.
exactly. And we get to revisit that with more self-awareness and go, is this serving the goals that I have? And is this the belief I want to embody for the future that I want? And so I see this come up a lot around food, because so much of our beliefs about ourselves are related to like what we eat and how we show up in the world, and culture and food is very intrinsically connected. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to recognize and go, okay, so how would showing up differently with food, I can still be connected to my culture, but how would honoring my culture and honoring the food and the choices that I want to make for my health look? And because you get to start modeling that as a new belief system for your family as well.
Yeah.
Beautiful. We are over. Anything you want to share, Anel, before we jump off?
No, I'm good. I'm just really struggling to, after the European holiday, to get off the carbs. But I'm buying healthy, or well, really good sourdough, and I'll allow myself a slice in the morning. So yeah, and that's my big struggle.
And like you do need some carbs, right? So it's not like you can't have it. And what I do is like I buy a small loaf of like, and obviously you've got a family, so you've got people to share it with. But I buy like a small loaf of sourdough, and then I'll have a slice of sourdough with my meal. And I can still have a slice with each meal, depending on what my goal is and how active I am that day. It's not like I can only have a slice in the morning. It's just the issue is when it's like all the bread and then we haven't had the protein and the vegetables and all of those things. So eat the protein and the vegetables first and then enjoy the slice of bread, but really be present whilst you're slicing it, enjoying it.
Yes, I'm literally like, oh, it's a piece of cake. I'm enjoying it. I'm appreciating a slice of bread.
Yeah,
like it.
I love that.
Very special. Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome.
And add spinach to your breakfast, Kavita.
Yes.
That is my favorite. Just
it's
plop some spinach on whatever you have.
One. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for showing up, ladies.
See you tomorrow.
I will see you all tomorrow.